Y'all, it's David Ducker coming back at you, and today we're going to be talking about the 4 RPG skills. We're going to isolate skill number 1, and that's writing. I did a previous video on all 4. Let's do some shorter videos now to isolate and educate and entertain. And before I do that, let me ask you a question. Do you prefer this camera, this microphone, or the old way that I had it before? Am I even uglier now? Is that possible? Is the low angle, which is the only thing this camera is capable of, is that truly horrific or just a mild terror? So let me know that in the comments below before we get started. But now let us speak on writing. So as a player or a GM, a referee, your writing ability comes before the game. This is your prep. Let's isolate what a player can do. As a player, to show off your writing, to execute your writing excellently, to utilize that skill, you want to just go through, make your character, make your generic character sheet. I did a video on that as well, and make it in detail. Writing is the best thing you can do to help your GM. So go through your character, his appearance, his personality, his background, where he's from, his goals, what he wants to do in the future, and any isolated plot hooks as well. So in appearance, you can have all of his gear, his items. You can list those out, tell stories about them if you want to. His personality, that can suggest plot points for the GM. Oh, you're, a strong leader. I'm going to throw another strong leader at you. How will you interact? Will you try to bully him, dominate him, or will you know when to step down? I'm going to throw a rebel at you. How do you deal with someone who won't be led? Right there, you can get plot points just from the core personality. Then you have the history. Where did you grow up? Who are your parents? Who's your trainer? Who is your religious inspiration as a child, if any? Do you have extended family? Have you made friends, enemies? Where did you pass through? Where did you get your schooling and education? Excuse me. And the GM can weave all these into the world and bring them back, bring them in, and shine the spotlight on you, but also potentially create villains, create allies, create friends who turn into enemies, or friends who have enemies, and you got to take up the banner and help them, or abandon them and leave them laying in the dust and walk away and show that selfishness, lawful evil style. Lawful evil. So you've got your background, which is probably your best tool. And then your goals. Where do you want to go? Where are you going to drive the plot? So that when you drive it there, when you get there, the GM is ready. He already knows where you're going. He already knows you're going to the volcano with the fire temple and the fire giants who worship Surtur from Muspelheim. And he's got all this vocabulary because he's researched it. He knows about hellhounds. He knows about the fire worm. So when you get there, he can just ring them off and have this great adventure, or this great role-playing scene. He doesn't have to struggle and flip through books and think on the fly. Because when you're on the fly, when you're not using writing, your writing skill, you might make great stuff up on the fly. You might not. Everyone is like that. I've made up great stuff on the fly, and I've made up really bad stuff on the fly, and I'm like, oh man, I wish I hadn't written that down. Wish that hadn't come out of my mouth. So your goals, and then plot hooks, slightly different from goals. Plot hooks happen to you. Goals are what you want to happen, what you drive. Plot hooks are things that come to you. So the fact that there are assassins after you, that's not a goal of yours. You don't want assassins to be after you. Although one of your goals might be to find out more about them. But you might not even know anything about them at the start of the game. Your character might not. So that is then a plot hook, something the GM can inject for you. So that's my kind of summation of your writing skill. First of the 4 RPG skills. So we have some shorter videos to describe how you can contribute and help your GM, help him elevate the game so that you can elevate the game even if your GM isn't great. If your GM's bad at writing, you can still do all this. And as long as he utilizes what you write, it's still in the game, it's still going to be good. If he doesn't utilize it, that could be a big problem. You know, you could waste your time, unfortunately. It's always a good idea to ask your GM if he cares to use what you've written or if he just wants his own stuff. So make sure you ask your GM first, but then try to contribute. I know players who are great writers. They're not very good in any other area, but they're great writers. And because of that, I love to have them at the table because they can help me. Because I'm not a great writer. I'm fine. I'm strong, but I'm not great, especially when it comes to quantity. I can do like one really good story, but only once a year. I can only cast that spell once a year. So again, that's my overview on writing. Let me know how you've used your writing ability in the game to make it better. Leave that in the comments below. And until I see you again, good day and good gaming.